So banana bunchy top virus is the most devastating virus disease in bananas worldwide. And essentially what it does is it stunts the growth of the plants and stops them from producing fruit. And here in Australia we have bunchy top in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. And we've had it in Australia for well over 100 years now. Bunchy top is spread in two ways. It's spread by the banana aphid, which is specific to bananas, and it's also spread by transplanting infected planting material.
My family started here in 1950-51, and personally I came back in 1979, end of 79, and we've been here ever since. My son, he's been here the last roughly 10 years, so third generation. And as children, of course, we spend our weekends and holidays working here, so it's well and truly in our blood.
I'm a third generation banana grower, and I was born in Bangalore, and my father grew bananas at St Helena Hill and my grandfather at Hayters Hill. We had this farm since 1969, and my father's been growing bananas since 1950s.
So certainly with the help of the Bunchy Top project, we've been able to get Bunchy Top under control on our farm over the last few years.
Been in the family since 1962 when Dad moved here from Brisbane when I was 5 years old, and we've been growing them since. So I guess that's pretty close to 55 years. It's been established after the First World War when the Return Service were allocated land, and the servicemen established a banana farm at that time. So it's been a banana farm since the 30s probably.
Well, I've been an inspector for 11 years now, and prior to that I had no history with banana plants or the banana industry.
Actually, I started work in the banana industry about 10 years ago. Then I worked for someone else. And then I started my own patch about 3-4 years ago, and I really into it in this industry. I love to grow banana now. So there's lots of challenges in there, but I really like to do that. Banana is crop like it's keep growing. Like I always say the banana never sleep. Then when I start my own patch, then I always see the Bunchy Top team, and they introduced to me to the Bunchy Top. Then I show interest to learn about it. Then I got an opportunity to join their team. I really love this job, and they give me a full training.
I'm a Bunchy Top detector. I was a banana grower for many years, but now concentrating on inspecting bananas. When I left school, I started working in bananas. My father grew bananas for many years, and when I left school, I left and worked with my cousins, and then I got a full-time plantation myself. And during that time, when I had the plantation, I had Bunchy Top there. I first noticed it myself when I was cutting my bananas. I noticed the tree, a stool with big stripes running up it and the dot dash, and I thought, oh, that's a Bunchy Top. And when I looked around my patch, I found another 12 to 15 Bunchy Top, and at that stage they were, it was probably too far gone to do much about it. And that's why it's very important that we teach our growers to inspect the bananas themselves and have a better idea of the identification of Bunchy Top.
So I've been a Bunchy Top inspector for about 1.5 years now. Before that I had no experience in bananas. Did have sort of an agricultural background, but nothing banana based.
I've been an inspector for 26 years, and when you first start detecting for Bunchy Top, it is it's a little bit hard, but the more you see, the more idea of different symptoms that you'll pick up. And yeah, within a short period of time you pick it up, and then you just get better and better as time goes on. Yeah, you really get to find the real fine ones.
On our property here, we've only had since '05, well actually since 2000 when I came back, 2000. We've only had 3. We have got one plantation in the valley to our east, which has, or did have it bad for a while, and they have a very much a westerly aspect, so I suspect they were in the firing line even more than we were, because we were down in the basin. So yeah, unfortunately because of a rogue plantation, it took some years to get out, but it certainly created havoc. Into the future, I think the threats we have with Bunchy top, there's a few. I think locally we have the problem with dirty plantations, neglected plantations. And unfortunately this has the potential to obviously spread, and then if it's not checked early, you have the problem of it potentially spreading out of this area and into North Queensland. And heaven forbid if it goes into North Queensland, it'd just be a very, very expensive exercise to try and get on top of.
Bunchy top has affected us really seriously a number of times. We've nearly lost the whole farm a number of times. Had to destroy all 3/4 of the farm simply to get on top of the Bunchy top outbreaks and replant again. That's happened once fully, and there's been a number of times where the Bunchy top has nearly finished this farm. It takes a tremendous amount of time out of your week to do your work. So it's loss of time, it's loss of money, and into the thousands of dollars when it gets really bad. Yeah, if it's left go, you need to completely eradicate the farm to start again.
In my year and a half, I've seen one property where Bunchy top was just left to go, and that patch is no longer there. It was quite bad. Every plant ended up with it, and well, that patch had to be destroyed. So that grower no longer has a farm, essentially. And this happened very quick, like with a matter of months, sort of thing. Just sort of. Well, the problem was there for a while before that, but when I saw it to when it went was 3 or 4 months. Which was quick. Like I didn't think it'd be spread that quick, but it did. And it's not just a problem for him. It's more of his farm was affecting other farms in the area, which is, well, no one wants that.
Well, when patches are weedy, it's really hard to walk through the patch to see the new leaves, to see the suckers, and I find that sometimes if it is let to get out of control, it can make our job 10 times harder, and Bunchy top can then get out of control. And I've seen patches in my time as an inspector that have been left to get out of control, and those farms now no longer exist.
I have very little history with Bunchy top. I only realised about 6 years ago, and I'm still having trouble detecting it. Bunchy top inspectors found it and they showed us, and we're trying to learn about them. That's how we found them. When we're cutting, we're trying to spot it, and I've got some workers who know a bit about it to get them as well doing it.
Even though we don't have, you might say, access to viewing Bunchy top in our plantation, we do when we're harvesting, covering, anything that involves the top of the plant. We do keep our eyes out for Bunchy top. I think growers in the A and B category should do. They should go around with the detectors to learn how to detect Bunchy top. I know a Bunchy top, but I only know one when it's advanced, and that's not good enough. In the meantime, that Bunchy top, those aphids, could have gone who knows where. So next thing you know, you've got it multiplying quite profusely.
That we're training growers now, because as I was just talking about, when I had bananas, it would have been good to have some sort of training back then, and I would have been able to pick up Bunchy top at an earlier stage. Growers starting out, it's important to look around a Bunchy top that you've had on the property, because that's a good indication that there might be another one nearby. And so if you're cutting bananas or you're suckering, and when you get to that banana plant, always have a good look around it and see if you can see any symptoms. The earlier you find Bunchy top symptoms, the less chance there is for that plant to spread Bunchy top to other neighbouring plants. And also when you're bagging, it's also good when you're up a ladder and you look down over your plantation, you can always see those top leaves, and a lot of growers find bunchy top when they're bagging, they're looking down on all the other leaves. But once again, if you have got some bunchy top in a corner or a part of your plantation, always have a good look around that area there.
It's not impossible for growers to learn this. It's very simple once they get their eye in. It just takes a bit of practice and time. You got to spend the time doing it really and looking at plants. There's no point doing it once a year. You got to get out there and look.
In early days when I start my job, I walk on the front, they walk on the sides. In that case, they can't miss any bunchy top in my early days. So it's take a few weeks to a few months to really good eye get on to the bunchy top. And the same approach now we're using to teach the other growers.
Well, it's really important that we make sure we train growers up so they're able to detect bunchy top in their own patches. This is really important for them and for us to get bunchy top under control. And it's also really satisfying to be able to train a grower to be able to pick their own bunchy top up and then seeing them pick up their own infections in between inspections. Bunchy top is not impossible to control or detect. It just takes a bit of practice, going around your farm, having a look yourself, destroying your own plants, getting really familiar with it. At the end of the day, yeah, you can get on top of it if you put your mind to it.
So when the Bunchy Top project first started, which was about 11 years ago, I understand now, we were getting about 140 plants every 4 weeks, destroying 140 plants. It took probably 3 years to scale down to less than 10. That's inspecting every 4 weeks. It's really in conjunction with the banana industry, with the inspectors that come up regularly, generally every month, up to 6 weeks. They've been critical for me to get on top of the bunchy top virus. Without their eyes and covering the farm, I couldn't have done it myself, but it's just imperative that a farmer looks at his trees, especially the new growth, all the time, whenever he's out on the farm, and just checking new growth all the time to see any bunchy top symptoms. Even if you're not that good at picking the bunchy top in the leaf itself, the growth signs of bunchy top is still very apparent, and it's the only way that I can look at it and get on top of it myself in between the inspections. The fact about bunchy top is that if you don't do it when you see it and you leave it a week, you could be leaving it going on to another dozen plants. It's critical in timing that you get right on top of it when you see it.
Educating ourselves, educating our staff in what the symptoms look like, and certainly staying on top of keeping the patches as clean as possible. And yeah, you know, I like to talk to the inspectors when they come round, and you always pick up new clues, and you know, even just getting them to point out the ones that maybe if they did find one, you know, you learn something just from that.
If the patch isn't cared for, it's really difficult to just even navigate, let alone find bunchy top. They could start by keeping the weeds, like the grass and stuff, under control. The plants stripped up, desuckered. That helps, you know, you're not looking as much. You're not looking where to go for starters, and you're not looking at as many leaves, you're just looking at that one centre leaf. I think growers should be looking at least once a month, having a look through their properties for anything infected or anything that stands out, paying attention really.
Plus, by keeping their plantation clean, weed-free and stripped up and well desuckered and have them well spaced. If there's any suckers that are under weeds, we're not going to be able to find, and the more trash there is around and lots of suckers, it is harder to find the bunchy top. But even for their own growing bananas, it's a lot better if they have their bananas all cleaned up and stripped and desuckered, and they'll find bunchy top a lot easier themselves.
On the ground, probably the biggest challenge for finding bunchy top is weedy patches. When patches are weedy and overgrown, it's so hard to pick up bunchy top. Makes our job and the grower's job 10 times harder than it should be.
We've got a separate block for our planting material, so we don't spread the disease to other parts.
Number one, we keep our weeds down. The law is if you have weeds above a certain height, it's determined to be too weedy to inspect, so it doesn't get inspected. If you've got one bunchy top in there, it just potentially gets out of hand. So we need to have our weeds under control. And the other thing is we desucker regularly, or as regularly as we can, depending on the workload. So they're the two main practices that we do. In order to make it easier for us to detect bunchy top, we make sure the plantation is laid out in a fashion that has got clear rows, desuckered, so it's not all cluttered up, so we can actually see the tops of the plants, look at the leaves more easily. Also, the little amount of practice that we've got, we can possibly detect it, even though it may be a little bit advanced, but we're able to alert the bunchy top that, okay, we have got a problem plant.
Like the bunchies or bunchy top spread by aphids. It's hard to control. You just can do it. Keep your patch maintained in good order, like weed control, do the desuckering on time and de-leafing. Then you can see the bunchy top very clearly, and you can catch on early stages. And it's helped to the bunchy top team to walk into your patch if your patch very clean and weed under control. If anybody wants to plant bananas and think about planting, they must have to get the plant material from the registered farmer or nurseries. Like if you get the materials from unknown patches and they maybe got a bunchy top, and you will get the bunchy top again, and that's spread like that everywhere. In northern Queensland, they're struggling with the race 4. So if bunchy top spread in that area, that's not good for our banana industry. So if we just careful about the where from we get the material, that's help a lot to keep the bunchy top under control, and like that you can help yourself and the others and keep our industry going.
It's good when growers show an interest and want to come around with the inspectors, even if it's for a few hours or even once every few months, just to have a look through their patch, and we can point out plants that look like bunchy top or are bunchy top, and vice versa. They can point out sus plants. Bunchy top is one of the important diseases to control. And the only way you're going to be able to control it is to monitor it, and that involves walking around the patch. A good start would be walking around, when the inspectors come out inspecting the patch with them. This might take a few hours, or it might take a day out of your month, but you probably gain more out of it than you realise. You'll learn it very quick. You'll know where there'll be certain areas where it will show up more, so you learn that. If you spend a bit of time.
If you don't get your bunchy top under control, you could end up like me. I lost my patch through bunchy top, and I wish we did have a bit more training back in those days than we do now. We really help the grower out to find bunchy top, but if you don't do anything about it and you do end up with a lot of bunchy top in your patch, well, there's a good chance you're going to lose part, or if not all, your patch through bunchy top. But the earlier you pick that plant up with symptoms and treat it, then much better your patch is going to be for it.
One of the biggest threats I see to the banana industry in terms of bunchy top is if it does manage to get up into North Queensland. They're not only dealing with bunchy top, they're also dealing with TR4, so that could be quite devastating. And the same goes for here. We don't want TR4 here. We're already dealing with bunchy top, so You know, it's really up to everyone in the industry to play their part. With Bunchy top, it gets into all banana plants, so it doesn't matter if you're a commercial grower or a backyard grower. And the reality is there are a lot of backyards in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, and we're never going to get to all of them. So the best thing any grower can do is to make sure that they train themselves up, come around with us. We can help you with training and learn how to detect your own bunchy top, because really it's up to you to control it in your own patch.
Well, I mean, understanding how bunchy top travels, it's certainly from backyards and hobby farms where, you know, not because it's their fault, but just without their knowledge, bunchy top can exist, and you know, it then can blow within the winds and land on our crops. So it's up to us as farmers to take an active role in controlling bunchy top. So our industry remains, well, healthy and viable.